Hello, Taze. How you doing?
Good yourself, man.
I'm very well, thank you very much. Hello, everyone in the chat as well. Thank you for joining. It's another Thursday evening for me, for you,
Very
Taze as
late, eh?
well. Yeah, yeah. Getting late in it. It's almost past my bedtime, but what are you gonna do?
Way past mine.
I appreciate you staying up in that case, mate. I really do. If you
No, I'm just kidding.
if you start nodding off again, I'll play the intro music because it is quite loud. That'll get you
That'll
going
be
again.
great.
Fantastic, fantastic. Do you want to give it a quick intro about yourself before we get started, so people know who you are? And
How much time do you have?
oh, mate, you just spend the entire hour on the intro. I'll just sit here and drink my water. It's fine by me.
Uh, Hi, I'm Thijs. Uh, Husband of one, father of two. I enjoy red wine and
Nice,
walking along the beach. That's
fantastic.
my date night intro.
That's very good. Maybe one day we could have a glass of wine and walk along the beach together. Sometime that would be fun.
But weird.
Hand it is. We could go hand in hand talking about Deneb. That's fine by me, mate. You know what I'm saying? It's a good thing.
Yeah, and I play around with the net.
Deneb,
Deneb,
yeah. I've
Deneb.
heard it. Deneb, however you want to pronounce it. I don't know
Uh,
anymore. I always forget how other people pronounce it until I hear it. And yeah, that's also an option. Yeah, but you're based in whereabouts? You based again?
Stellenbosch, South Africa.
Nice, nice. I mentioned once before when
Wine
we
country.
wine. Okay, yeah, that's where another name
Yeah,
from the bottles of wine and whatnot. Yeah,
yeah.
I mentioned before when we first spoke when I was desperately trying to convince you to do a live stream. I was,
Yeah, your music got me.
yeah, right. That's fine. People seem to connect to the music. That's fine. If it's just for the music, that's no problem for me. The only time I've been in South Africa was when I was getting very very dumped. It's a in hindsight it's a quite a funny story, but when it happened at the time, it was no fun at all. I
What year was that? You told me the last time, I
oh
think.
that was mate, I don't know, probably like 2007 maybe.
2007.
Yeah,
That's
2007.
the other day.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
it was. It
you
was
said you was in Georgia, eh?
I was in
Yeah.
George, like on the garden. Is it called the Garden Route or something?
Garden Route, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got nice golf courses there.
Yeah, maybe that appeals to me more in my current
In
lifestyle. I
the
see this in the
in the corner
background.
there.
Yeah, yeah. I live quite close to a golf course, so I was maybe thought I'd go and hit some balls just in the driving range just to take out some fury. You know what I mean? Uh, Golf for me, I think it would take at least 17 hours to get around because it's been a while. I used to play pitch and putt as a kid, chipping and putting that kind of
Uh,
stuff.
um, yeah, the putt courses, yeah.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah, yeah.
pitch and putt. We've got the magic courses, yeah,
Like, is that like
which is
kind
a
of like
short
crazy
par
golf?
threes. I've got no idea what crazy golf, but it could be, yeah.
Crazy golf is one with like the windmills and stuff, and you got like put it through the
That's putt
holes.
putt. That
That's putt putt. Okay,
yeah.
okay, fair enough. So I
Yeah.
don't know. There's so many different forms of
Depends
golf.
on if you're playing normal golf. It could also become crazy golf,
That's basically the
without
thing
the
what would
windmills.
happen. There are other forms of obstacles like trees and water and sand and that sort, and just
And
my own
sometimes
my
just
own
golf.
tears
Oh,
of frustration. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
I get it.
sometimes just golf.
Yeah. No. Well,
Yeah.
maybe one day if I get more time and
I see
we'll get there.
Anthony's also got a no shortage of excellent red wine in South Africa. Yep. Funny thing is, my
What's it?
wife works at a wine farm.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
No, I told her she can't leave until the kids are out of the house.
Yeah,
Teenagers in red. Yeah.
it kind of gets you through the
We,
parenting, right? Oh man, no shortage of excellent red wines in South Africa, and also
oh,
crocodiles and
crocodiles and
lions.
lions.
Fair enough.
Not
Yeah.
in Stellenbosch.
Okay. No, just
And yeah, they don't walk in the streets.
that would be a problem. I've seen a crocodile just once in my life when I was in Australia, and I was doing a bit of fishing, and there was just a big, quite a large crocodile. I was far away from the water, of course. This policeman comes by and he was just kind of, "You fishing here?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Don't get too close to the water. There's crocodiles in there." And like, I am far too terrified to go anywhere near that water, mate. Trust me. I'm gonna sit here on this bridge all day long, and not go anywhere near that water. So
Yeah.
yeah, what are you gonna do? But yes. Anyway, sorry, just me rambling on now about
No, no,
wild
no.
animals and
I
golf
think
and
everybody wants to know about the George trip.
the George trip. It was very short. I was meant to be there for about. I was meant to visit there for about 2.5, 3 months, whatever my visa would allow. I can't remember now. And I was dating someone who had been, well, she lived in Berlin. She was a Berliner, and she went to George to learn how to fly. She was going to get a pilot's license, which she ended up doing, and she's now still a pilot now. She's doing very well. But I got there, and our plan was to get there and kind of travel around for a little bit and see different parts of the country, blah blah. I got there. I flew there from Berlin. 2 days later, she dumped me, and I was just kind
Oh,
of. It was the most brutal way to break up with someone. Like you know, people say you shouldn't break up with someone over the phone. In that situation, it would have been slightly better for me just to save me that
yeah,
long trip. So I had two choices. I could have stayed and done it on my own, but I wasn't or just gone back to the UK where I was living at the time. I actually chose to go back to the UK and just get drunk with
no,
friends. Yeah, I know. In hindsight, it was a bad choice, but I was not in good shape, to be honest. But I had a great summer, but I had it in the UK rather than South Africa. So what are you going to do? That was my South Africa excursion. So there you go.
no,
Exciting times.
no. I was born and raised here, so
Yeah.
and still here.
And you enjoying it, of course. And
Yeah, no, it's very nice.
what did,
Our country's got a bit of a problem with the power and that sort of stuff. So,
yeah, okay.
but yeah, if you look past it, it's still a
Mm.
great country.
Yeah. I know little about it, to be honest, but I believe you, and it looks very beautiful as well. I know. I mean, I used to work for for BASF, and they have a division down in South Africa, and I had quite a few.
BASF,
Yeah, it's like a chemical company, basically. Um,
don't know.
it's a German company, but they have all over the world. They've got it's like subsidiaries and stuff. But
Okay.
I had quite a few colleagues down there, and they were always sending photographs and making me jealous of how cool stuff was compared to Berlin, which is a nice city, but not visually spectacular, should we say. It's missing a certain aesthetic element that you get in South Africa. Yes,
And
they are
it,
a huge chemical
huge.
company. Huge chemical company. BASF.
Yeah.
Badische etwas something. I don't know. It's from existed since I don't know the early 20th century.
Yeah,
Whatever.
everybody's going to tell me tomorrow, you should know that company, man.
It's what do you know what it is, right? The thing about this company is that they are so it's, yeah, genau, soda fabric, genau. In the 90s, you would have seen a BASF videotape. Yeah?
Yeah. And the small type. Yeah.
Right. But they engaged in some of, for me, the most genius marketing I have seen in my entire life. In that they didn't do any. They removed their name from the public image, because if people know who they are, if you see the name, you can identify them with some pretty not nice things that happen. Like when there's a huge oil
Okay.
spill, people get all like BP get all the abuse and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But BASF will have the hand in there somewhere. But if you don't know about them, then you can't really hate them that much, right? But their products are everywhere. Like if you
Yeah,
buy
I think they were against TDK that time.
oh, mate.
Yeah, we at the TDKs and the BASF
Okay,
tape decks,
maybe
yeah,
yeah.
or the
But
tapes.
basically, any product that exists will have some. They're huge. They make lots of paints for cars and stuff. But
Mm.
anyway, I feel like I'm advertising BSF now, which is a bit weird. Let's talk about you. We're here to talk about you, not my previous employer from 5 years ago. What do you do, mate? I mean, we all know that you
Uh,
work with Denner, but what's your job, if we
yeah,
may
so
ask?
I'm working as a business intelligence business analyst for one of the biggest banks in South Africa.
Nice,
Our
cool.
client base is about 20 million clients.
Wow, that'll do.
So yeah, we're working with quite a lot of data.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense for sure.
I'm playing around with tabular models currently,
Okay.
setting up some cubes.
Cool.
We're running a POC with Microsoft to see if we can use Power BI service to publish our cubes instead of on-prem
Yeah.
servers.
Okay. Makes sense.
Um, yeah, and that's what I'm doing.
That sounds really
I
interesting.
started off as an accountant,
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's
did my
right.
stint.
How
Did
did
my
that
stint as an
transition
accountant.
work?
As an accountant, you work mostly with history, so I
Mm,
decided now wanted to get a bit more to where the data originate,
mm.
and moved to a company where I was IT manager. Did some development work in an old Revelation software
Okay.
And we started to implement the SQL BI system those days with
Okay.
analysis services, reporting services, integration services. And I think that's where the BI bug bit me.
Okay.
So, yeah, I haven't
Nice.
looked back since.
I find it really interesting that you work with everything you've just described is very different from what people might expect when if you know you're like the data visualization DNAB guy. It's quite. I love that combination of skills or interests or whatever.
Yeah, so I think it's to do with the programming part.
Okay.
When the HTML language was released way
Mm.
back, I printed out a manual and I went through the whole manual and I started
Impressive.
designing some click-through sites.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the JSON language in the NEP is for me a similar approach. And we talked the last time is I'm in control.
Yeah. That's.
It's
Yeah.
not. I can put a label where I want it. Actually,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing that I always kind of come back to with Deneb is just that absolute element of complete control. I just find I really can't get away from that. It's just when I go back to working with standard visuals for whatever reason, um, it's weird to not be able to really put everything precisely where I want it to be. I also quite often when I'm working with standard visuals, I'll go to the ellipses and I'll click on them. And I'm like, "Where's the edit part?" It's like, "Where can I?" All right, no, I can't do that. Now
it
I'm
was a
sad
great
again.
discussion you had last week with Mike about what's I think what would be next best thing for Power BI is actually to go to
Hard mode.
the NIP route, yeah, and say, listen,
Yeah,
uh,
that's the ultimate dream. To be honest, we'll see one day it might happen, but it would be awesome,
yeah.
right?
I see Andy ask if I'm a Friends fan
Yeah,
because
so that.
all my all my visuals are titled the
Yeah,
one
the
with.
one with the.
Yes, I'm a Friends fan. I watched the series, and I think there was another site that also did that. The one with, and I thought maybe I could piggyback on that. I hope I'm not getting any copyright issues about that. But I'm running out of ideas, so that's why I stopped a bit. So
I thought you might be taking a break because you've done so much. I'm going to drop you a link, by the way, in the chat because this is the link to your GitHub. We'll get to your GitHub later because that's another thing that's all for me. But if you've never seen it before, that's his GitHub where he's got all these, the one with those, and
I see how the HTML came back, eh? Because some of the GitHub stuff was in HTML. So I actually
okay.
the Markdown language is similar to so the Markdown language that I'm using on the site
Mm-hmm.
is similar to HTML. So it was actually
Okay,
quite easy to find.
that's
I must
interesting.
first of all, before we go any further, I must just say hats off to you guys for doing this. I struggled my butt off to get all the lightning organized, and I've got a strip light. So every time I'm filling, yes, because the thing keeps popping up.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah, so hats off to you
lighting's.
guys.
You should see I've got like some people buy these like quite. You can get these like spotlights, and I honestly, I just coincidentally had. You can get these Philips Hue strip lights,
Yeah,
and I have one here, one there. And when I started doing it, I was like, maybe they'll work. And because I can kind of, and this is what I got behind me, this like purple light, same thing. I
yeah.
just changed the color. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I was looking for a video that I'd made, like one of my first videos, yesterday, and I went back to it and I looked at it. I think for everyone who doesn't ask, it's kind of like it's not the fact that the quality was bad, which it was. It was like, why is this then like it was like some really, really ridiculously like low resolution. It's like, why did I record it? And like it was like I filmed it on a potato or something. It's like, how is that possible? Yeah, it's a nice progression. But your lighting looks fine, by the way, mate. You're looking very
Especially in the top.
the reflection. I
Yeah,
would never comment on
let's
such
leave
things,
it
you
there.
understand.
Let's
That's
leave
all
it
you,
there.
mate. Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah.
Where were we last? Yeah. So the GitHub
S-
page was a part of
yeah.
HTML.
No, okay.
And
It's nice.
yeah.
I like it a lot.
So
But
I enjoy the challenge of the NEP. When I started in BI, it was one of the FMCG companies in South Africa.
mm,
There was a guy there that said, "But what's this Power BI? We'll never get to Tableau's
mm,
um, power of
classic.
visualization and stuff." And I think that's still in my back. So I still want to prove that Power BI is actually just as good as Tableau, and
Mm.
with the NIP, it actually is possible to do that.
Well, that's the thing.
Um,
If you're building data visualization using Deneb and Power BI, I guess you can therefore say that you can create visualizations that are just as good. But how much of that is Power BI and how much of that is Deneb? I mean,
yeah,
it's
mostly the NIP.
yeah. I mean, it's just a conduit, isn't it? I mean, because
Yeah,
Deneb is the conduit. Is that the right word for Vega Lite? And
yeah,
that's you get me. You know roughly what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean.
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's the
Um,
wrong word, it's again that. So
so
then you
somebody should just maybe help there with the word, but I think it's conduit.
yeah, that'll
Um,
do. Cheers. I forget because it's like I speak mostly English people with people who don't speak English as a mother tongue. So I forget. Sometimes I'm on the phone with my dad and I literally have to ask him what the word is. It's really embarrassing to be honest. But you know what I'm saying? That you have Vega like
yeah,
inside Dena, which is inside Power. It's kind of
but
like a Russian doll of like
but the
stuff.
thing is, I actually tried to do that in a Jupyter notebook
Okay.
with trying to do a Vega Lite, but then I'm missing DAX again because you want the expression to be able to put the expression into the
Mm,
visual.
yeah, that's a
Because
very good point.
trying to do a transform in Vega Lite is, yeah, that's still, it's like just sometimes trying to do a min x in DAX for me.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
I'm
That
this weekend again. I was the last one I did. I'm not sure if you can bring it up. Maybe I published it this weekend on Twitter.
oh, let me have a look for
Um,
it. I'll try.
it
You keep
it was
talking. I'll
actually
find it.
6,000 lines of JSON because
Whoa.
I couldn't get the facet right. But I guess it's maybe 100 lines, but copy and paste to 6,000.
Oh, is this the price shares by country?
Yeah,
Okay, 1 second.
because as soon as you do a facet on it, the facet filters the small multiple to the specific country. Then you can't do the detail lines.
Okay.
Um,
I'll try and share my screen. I don't do it very often, so I'm very bad at it. Maybe it'll work. That one. See if this comes up. Is that it? Did I do it
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Get rid of the chat. It's a bit bigger. Is that not working? But yes, this is what you're talking about,
yeah,
right?
that one, yeah. So each one of those is a block of code with a layer for the lines, and then yeah, it's a lot of layers there. But I couldn't get the min and max working in DAX. I struggled for
Yeah.
more getting that correct than struggling to get the Vega Lite correct.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can I can imagine. It's
and then I feel stupid again. So and then I tried to read what the go to anything on Google about min and max, and then yeah, that doesn't even help sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, what you were saying before regarding the DAX and and Deneb, I agree. I've said it, I think once or a couple of times before on this show, is that I love that combination where if you can't do it with Vega Lite, you can do it with
Mm.
Deneb, and you can't do it with sorry, Kvatch. If you can't do it with Vega Lite, you can do it with DAX. If you can't do it with DAX, maybe you can do it with Vega Lite. It's a
Yeah,
really nice like combination to have.
yeah. So
Um,
it's quicker for me to do the ranking in a transform in Vega Lite than it is to do it in DAX
yeah,
because
yeah.
the data is already sorted
Mm.
in Vega Lite when I get it in there. So,
I
but yeah,
think
I enjoy it. It's pushing me a bit, and I think I wasn't at a stage in my career when I needed that extra push.
yeah.
I'll always be grateful for Daniel.
I agree with
Um,
that. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so it's because you get in the stage where you think, okay, what's next?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and
For me, it was
so
quite also in regards to what I was like, what can I offer that other people aren't offering? You know, Like there's so much out there where people are doing like so much stuff, and I was like, okay, I don't see much about that. I mean, you see more now, but when I first started doing Deneb stuff, there was not so much. So it was great to have that as well. To say, okay, I can focus on that and help people learn that. But also, I've got to say, just you've also helped me a lot, because you said with regarding the SVG stuff, you sent me information, and I think you also made a couple of comments when I created a visualization, said, oh, you can also do this way, and I've changed it and made it. It's a really nice thing to have. Also, one of my favorite visuals in Deneb that I've seen is your spark lines.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I put it on my Deneb
Yeah,
report that I
yeah,
published on
yeah.
my website.
You mentioned that again in the Kratos talk that you did.
Right, exactly.
And
Exactly.
he pulls you up in the number 12 that was misspotted.
Right, exactly. I fixed that now, by the way. I fixed it.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I was saying, what is it when I make it like curly instead of like pointy? It's like, yeah. I was like,
And
maybe
that's why I didn't put points on that one.
I wondered about wondered about Oh man, it does look nice, but when you put but that's but this is the going back, actually, this kind of leads us to what we're talking about before with the top ends or whatever. I started doing the ranking. I would do it in DAX because for me, if I'm going to do the ranking within that visualization, it makes also sense to have the ranking in a DAX measure as well,
Yeah.
rather than just. But it just depends on what you're going to do. If you're only going to use it in that one situation, it's fine to have it there. Also brings me on to another thought that I have quite often that we discuss, like with Deneb, when you create these visualizations, what the hard sell is sometimes is how can we use this in a company? Because if what if other people need to
Who's going to
change
support it?
that?
Who's going to support it?
Exactly. So for someone who maybe is offered, try using exactly. Thank you, Daniel. Try
Hi,
using.
Daniel.
Thank you for joining at such an opportune moment, because I love it when things like this pop up, because Daniel says,
Cardinal
try using
interpolation.
cardinal interpolation if you want a curvy line to hit your data points. What I say in my language is, it was curvy, but I wanted to make it pointy. What Daniel said is how grown-ups talk. Okay. What I said is someone who kind of like has to copy paste stuff all the time. So cheers, Daniel. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
So for me, it's now going back to say, okay, cardinal interpolation. What does that mean? I have to Google it after the chat.
It was also one of these words when I've never really used the word interpolation before, obviously.
That I think he did a great blog about it where the lines cross, and I assisted Jeff with getting his imports and exports correct to show that where the lines cross, the coloring below was out of whack.
Okay.
So we tried to get that right. I think that is what that cardinal interpolation must mean.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I remember reading the documentation and just kind of going through and thinking, and I remember what it means because I had never seen it before, and I was making a video, and I was just kind of like, I need to know how to pronounce that word. So I just like, I'm pretty sure you say it this way, but it's one of the, it's like that, and also to say quantitative. And I'm like, it sounds like when I say it, it sounds like it has too many T's in it. Is it quantitative or quantitative? I don't know.
But I can spell it now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, I now can't spell color because I now spell it like an American. And the number of times I've written color when typing not in Deneb and I've missed out the U, and I had to go back and put it in. I was like, nope, I'm not allowing myself to become that person who spells color like an American. Okay, it has a unit and it's staying there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few things in the nib that actually changed the way I'm typing as well, like the colon at the end.
Yeah.
The what's that? The colon for the between the
Yeah, I get you.
color colon and then the
Yeah.
color. It's and the curly brackets.
That literally made me start using a different keyboard. I was very lucky enough to have someone who was at the time building their own, keyboard, and he let me use the one that he'd built, because the square bracket and the curly bracket, the combination on my keyboard was so annoying. And this one I just had because the German keyboard, of course, has a different setup. and I had to press like the buttons, and I didn't like it with the way my fingers had to move. I'm very bad at typing. So I literally changed my keyboard to write to write Vega Lite. It was just getting too much for me.
I actually had typing at school, so
Oh,
um,
really? That's cool.
it was between woodwork and typing. So I thought didn't want to do woodwork, so I went on typing, and I'm still glad I did.
I can well imagine, mate. I'm pretty jealous. I remember my mom could type. So she's just a secretary, and she used to be able to type like ridiculous number of words per minute. I can remember the sound of the speed of her tapping on the keyboard. It was just like crazy fast. And here's
Jeez.
me like, it's really bad.
Yeah, my mom and dad had a old printing press.
Oh wow, that's
Where
cool.
they still set the letters and that sort of stuff. So I think that's where the data visualization comes in for me. It's the fonts and
That's interesting.
the typefaces and how you lay out stuff.
That's really
So
interesting. I like that a lot.
yeah, the
That's something
problem with that
interesting.
is from an early age I was able to read upside down because you had to r- proofread.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so my dad was on one side and I was on the other side trying to read and spotting the problems first. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's really cool. That's a sentence that you don't hear very often. From an early age, I could read upside down. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
also problematic, especially when COVID hit. If you notice now, there's a screen behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my wife is now sitting back to back. So so when when COVID hit, we were sitting
Hmm.
next to each other, and I was fixing her spelling mistakes in her emails.
Oh God, no. Yeah, no, I just
I thought it was helpful, but apparently not.
no,
So yeah, no,
no.
we're sitting with our backs to each other.
I can imagine that would be like it might lead to a little bit of friction, to be honest.
Just a little
You like
small
switch
bit.
you like switching off so you can like see the reflection in your screen of you spelled that wrong. Like what? Leave me alone.
Yeah, no, I'm not going that. Made that mistake once and won't do that again. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I
So yeah, so it was a curse for me as well. So yeah,
it's quite a cool thing to have. I like it's nice to have a random skill that other people like don't have, or like many people don't have. For example, it's quite. But also interesting. I've never really heard anyone say they were maybe potentially interested in data visualization from reading print presses. That's quite a.
but
Uh,
I think it was I'm always interested in the font and the cleanness of a font.
hmm, okay.
And for me, the cleanness of a visualization as well. What frustrates me is the fact that you always ask the question, what's the one thing in Power BI that they can change?
Yeah.
They can take away the shadows
Yeah.
because everybody puts everything in the shadow
Yeah. The drop
and
shadows. You mean?
the drop shadows, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Interesting
it's
you
not
mentioned that.
adding any value to
It
any
doesn't.
visualization that I've seen.
I used to be horrific for drop. I fully admit it. When drop shadows came out, I was like, "Oh, that's nice." I remember I had a report, and it was just, and I was there for 6 months, and it was just one day. I opened my computer, looked in it, I was just kind of like, "Why is it so ugly, Ben? Why did you do that?" It just my brain just changed, and now, but this is an interesting thing that you kind of do you know how like artists go through like periods, yeah.
Mm.
I often think it's the same thing about creating
It
data
is definitely,
visualization.
definitely, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm going through my minimalistic phase right now. Like no drop shadows for
Your
sure.
data to
No,
ink ratio is going down, or what?
yeah, just no, no,
Or up?
no, no borders, no curved edges. Just everything just kind of like nice and clean and easy and stuff. I'll
No,
do like a
I did a certificate in UX design a
okay.
few years back.
Mm,
Um, there's a craze for the black backgrounds as well.
yeah.
For the Okay, we all do the dark mode, but one of the points in the course was that we, as youngsters, we start reading normal black print on white paper.
Mm,
So you're much easier and quicker to see data that is printed black on white. So
yeah.
if you put it the reverse, it's much more difficult to quickly see it.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
can
so I'm
understand
also
that.
not doing. I've got a problem with pie charts, with maps, and with shadows apparently now as well, and with the dark mode visualizations.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And I think it might also go back to the printing press, um, because if you print it in black, you couldn't see anything on it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Um,
Makes sense.
so
See, I'm gonna bring this comment because
dark mode, everything.
I am I am really not a fan of dark mode at all. I I have created dark mode like reports that are dark. Don't do it anymore. If you want to, I understand that. Only thing I ever use dark mode on is Twitter, and it's not like the really dark. It's kind of like the dark blue, not the black mode. I don't like websites where it's kind of the background's black and the text is white. It
Yeah.
hurts my eyes. I find it really hard to read. I don't put any dark mode on anything, which I know some people think is terrible, and I'll probably get blocked, and I'll probably get my Power BI license revoked, all that kind of stuff. But I just don't like it. You know what I mean? But it's
The thing is, I like my Retina that response now. I also like my Retina I code in black and white,
okay.
or
Yeah,
in dark mode. But a visual for me is not. It's not for dark mode.
I think for
But
visual,
that's my opinion. And
yeah.
there's a very good saying by an Australian in that MH370 Netflix.
Say it again. Sorry.
On MH370 on Netflix.
I don't know
Uh,
this.
about the missing plane.
Sorry, you're right. I'm with. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Malaysian Airlines, where the
Hmm.
Australian said that opinions is like assholes.
Uh,
Everyone's got one.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. This
Yeah.
is.
So
It's true. I mean, I.
and for me, it's my opinion about dark mode is not the guy next to me's opinion about dark mode. My
No.
opinion about shadows is not the guy next to me's opinion about shadows.
Yeah.
So no.
It's a you put it so nicely. It's very democratic of you. I just think it's my opinion, and I respect other people's opinions. I just think my opinion's correct. That's what I'm saying, right? No, dark mode I think is fine on for report perspective. I'm talking about here, but when if a report is being like shared with many people, like if you're gonna like also gonna have it big on a big screen, then it's not a good thing to have. It's just if it's for a smaller group and everyone's okay with it, I would never share a group to a really wide audience with dark mode anymore because I
No.
changed my opinion. So you know what I mean? I can't say like, oh, that used to be my opinion. That was correct. Now this is opinion. Now my new opinion. Now that's the correct one. It's just the way it goes, right?
Yeah. I just want to answer Anthony there about the maps. I don't have a
Ah,
problem
yes.
with maps. Um, so I learned to do maps in that Excel ad in that Power Maps,
Okay.
and most of the stuff on that map was 3D.
Ah, okay.
Because you got the bars that went up
Mm,
and
mm,
so. And I think in South Africa, I think if we lived in the US, it would have been great to do maps because with all the states and stuff. But South Africa, the,
mm,
the maps is we've got a lot of provinces. We can color in the provinces, but then what's next?
yeah, it's a good
So
point.
it's better to do it in bar charts for me because you see
Mm.
more better information. Yeah,
You're talking like population density basically as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
population density.
yeah. That makes
You're
sense. Yeah.
entitled to your wrong opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But Anthony also said Ben is right. So
I know. I'm basically I'm gonna get that put on a T-shirt and mugs, and you can buy them on my
yeah,
website. I'm joking. You know. Yeah, I feel the same way about maps. I used to really dislike them, but I think it's because you see so many bad versions. It's the same as so many. If you see so many bad versions of a type of visualization, you're going to end up disliking them. It's the same with like people dislike pie charts. Why? Because you see so many bad pie charts. You know,
mm.
once when sorry, I read Anthony's comment. I lost my train of thought. I'll take a commission. That's fine. Yeah.
It's on the T-shirt. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. um, yeah, and it's the same with like. But once I saw the icon map stuff from James Dales, I was like, okay, nice. And
mm.
of course, with Deneb, you can create really nice maps. I've literally never created a map in Deneb though. I have to say I've never done it.
I've done I think I've done one for a WoW challenge last year,
Okay.
the Workout Wednesday challenges, which was the rat sightings in the New York subway or something.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
That's quite cool.
But yeah, the Deneb maps shout out
Watson.
Fraugi.
Yeah,
He did quite a few that were great.
he did actually. That's a good point.
Alexandra, I can't pronounce his surname. I'm not even going to try.
I'm gonna try.
He also did a few.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and find Shad's link actually because he did create really. I mean, basically all the stuff that I saw that he had was not all of it, but a lot of it was like map work, you know. And I think I can find his link, find his Twitter. You find your Twitter, you find the GitHub. It's
Yeah,
the way it goes, right?
yeah.
And no, really amazing stuff. And
You're missing Jeff, eh?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's on holiday. Like, how dare he? You know what I mean? I've got to talk, read comments, and post links. I can barely even talk. All right,
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, exactly. I'm in so many ways. But yeah, I tried to do a map in Deneb when I was like a few months ago, and I was, you know what, I'm not feeling it. So I just stopped, and I was like, other people are doing a much better version, so I'll just leave it alone.
Yeah. Daniel posted about the icon map. That's also my go-to if I need to do a map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true. I was going to bring up this comment. Steve Williams. This is a nice
What's
question.
the
What's
best
the
way to
best
become?
way to be an expert at creating visuals in Deneb?
As a data analyst, the question would be, what's your definition of an expert? Because I don't think I'm not an expert. I know how to copy and paste a few things and change some configs.
Yeah.
For me, it was reading the documentation and playing.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff I do in IT. I learned myself. So, but what's nice with the nib is you can't break it.
Yeah, that's true.
You can break WebView 2.
That's not difficult. You got to set yourself a challenge, man. Come on.
No, I had a on that 6,000 line visualization I did this weekend. I had a few blockouts.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I
Yeah.
lost a few sessions there. Maybe Daniel can give us some
Yeah, I mean,
information on the facet. I'll reach out to him maybe on a Twitter message again. But yeah, I've struggled with that this weekend.
annoying a DM.
But the best way for me was to go through the documentation and take the examples that they have, and then just change one bit at a time to check and see what it does.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned that in the previous video as well. Is to play around with it and.
Yeah, I mean, to become expert again, I can't say to learn and to get good and to continually improve. I can only really I mean, that's the way I learn as well, because same as you, everything that I've learned, everything that I can do, I've learned on my own. I really haven't ever really taken any sort of course. Exactly the same with Deneb. The first thing I did was I got the example file, which you get when you get the app, had a look at it. It was a lot of Kerry's work in there, Kerry Kolosko.
Yeah.
Great stuff. But to be honest, I looked at it and I was like, you know what, that's too much for me. So I went to the documentation, and it sounds really boring when you say documentation, but Vega Lite documentation is really cool. It's really good fun because you have all the examples that you can click on. If you want, start with the basic bar chart, and as you get better, go to different stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, I did this live stream with Chris Wagner.
Yeah.
And it was literally just showing I love that you just changed the word from bar to line, and it's a line. So the elements, I mean, everyone understands the basic elements. You know what an x-axis is, you know the y-axis is, and okay, you might not know what a mark is, but it's pretty quick to learn because you see it says, mark, bar.
But you didn't go through the getting started,
the getting started stuff.
Yeah, on the Vega Lite, because they teach you what a mark is.
Yeah, too boring. Too boring. I went straight to the examples.
Examples.
And on two screens, I had documentation here, had the examples there, and I was like, well, it says Mark bar, and here on the documentation it says Mark bar line, just typed in the different words, and I just like built on it, you know.
Uh,
And but
um,
exactly what you say, basically. I think as long as you have data that you're interested in or that you want to work on, and you have a bit of time to put aside, it's just that's the way to get good, and just learn how to build on the stuff that you've already built. You know,
no,
Vega
I
Lite
think
is very. Sorry, please go.
no. What did for me was or what clicked for me at a stage was the layering. Um, and for me,
Exactly.
it's like screen printing. So everything there's a once off go over, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and that's how you build your visualization.
Yeah.
Um, I actually did a search in my uh, teachings with Vega Light, and I came across a site where they redid the Napoleon journey to
Okay. Yeah.
Moscow,
Yeah.
and the one back. That one they
Got you.
actually did that in Vega Light,
Oh wow, that's cool.
um, and to be able to do that in a tool. I'm not sure if you can do that in Tableau. I haven't seen that yet.
Okay. No.
Um,
No.
and it wasn't a lot of code as well. It was maybe 300 lines of code.
Okay.
And to get that out from a tool like Power BI, for me, that's amazing. And
Yeah, that's for sure. For sure.
hats off to Daniel for creating that tool.
Mm.
It's. Um, I'm just worried that Microsoft buys it out and then let it die like Articulator, but I don't
That's my
want to put it
concern.
out there.
That's concern. Sorry, one say, Daniel, I've made you an admin now on my channel, so if you repost that link, it will probably work. I just saw you right in there. But thank you very much, beautiful.
Thanks, Daniel.
Um, as to what you were saying, people say, "Oh, it'd be awesome if Microsoft did this, blah blah," and it would be awesome. But that would be exactly my fear, that it would be like discontinued or whatever, or it would just. I don't know. I don't know. I can't speak for Daniel. I'm not sure what he wants, but people will say, "Oh, it'd be awesome if that happened." And just the thought of it dying somehow in Power BI, it just would be
Mm,
my absolute nightmare. So I don't know. I don't want to jinx it, but that sort of thing.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think most people who work with it, it kind of. I mean, what I really like about it is it makes you understand data visualization on a different level.
Mm, yeah.
I just thought of it as this thing that's on my screen, just the element, but you start to understand the different things that build it up.
Mm,
I know it's not like you're using what it's called D3, whatever it's called. It's not like this hugely massively complex thing, but it makes you appreciate data visualization a lot more. This is, I think, one of my joys of Deneb. you
yeah.
know
Yeah, and I think that's what was interesting for me when I did the big book of dashboard is
mm,
when I started to look at the dashboard, it wasn't for me a bar chart, or it was a
mm,
lot of marks
right.
layered on top of each other.
Mm,
So
mm,
it was challenging to do, but it wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't that difficult to do, but it was. It took some time to get right, to get everything in the correct space, and that.
yeah. So no, I mean, you're making me think as you're saying that. It's a really good point. I forgot to bring that up, so I'm pleased that you did. The fact that you recreated the big book of dashboards in Deneb also goes to answering this question that came up before about how do you get really good. The fact that you pursue that as a project. I mean, for me, I took thus far only like maybe 2 or 3 ideas from the big book of dashboards, and I created something with them. One of the things I created was one of my favorite that I created with this area chart with the big text that explains each data point.
Yeah, yeah,
I really like that, and that idea, because it had this thing about big text to explain,
yeah.
and to have a book like that and just to go through it. Not only does it give you ideas, it gives you something to learn. It's like, if you
Yeah.
want to do that, like, how can I do it? Like when I created this ridiculous thermometer chart, I don't need that, but I was just like, oh, maybe I could try and do that. How might
Or
that work?
the hippos, or the
The
legends.
other hippo. I mean, come on. I mean, are you trying to suggest that you don't need hippos in the visualization? How dare you, sir? But yeah, it's
Even in
just.
South Africa, we don't need that.
um, But yeah, I'm
It
going to
might be good for hippo sightings in the Kruger Yeah, it might be a good map for the
see.
Kruger National Park. You
See,
see,
we'll get some stuff going, man. But that link
yeah.
that I posted, if you know haven't seen it, that's what I'm talking about. It has this visualization with the those points with the text, and it gives you ideas, and you can just go with it, and create a zoo
Zoo.
in Deneb. Oh,
It's
stop.
possible.
Can I just say, people, stop giving me ridiculous ideas, because you know I'll do it. Okay, I will create all this ridiculous stuff, and this is what I said once before, like, or a couple of times probably, that you see all these people creating these amazing visualizations, really pushing the boundaries of what you can do and data
Mm.
insights, and I'm just kind of like, it's got hippos on it. That's cool. You know what I mean? Like, really, that's what I'm offering to the community.
Well, I spent a whole weekend trying to get the path correct for the body layout in one of those charts in the big book of dashboards, and that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love we can spend so much time working on these little things, and it's just like so time consuming. And at the end of the day, it's like, what? Oh man, it's a lot sometimes.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah,
Because I actually want to have that block colored for the torso,
yeah,
not the
exactly.
whole body.
That point. I want this one thing that no one else would even know what I had to go through to get it done. That's what I wanted to be done. Yeah, it's a lot sometimes, but it's like it's a fun thing to learn. This is what I think. Really,
Yeah.
it's a lot of.
And if we're coming back to that question about the expert, I think it's
Mm,
just jumping in it and
yeah,
start doing it. And I think once the bug bit you or bites you,
yeah.
uh, um, uh, there's even now on Enterprise DNA, I see they've got a I'm not going to remember the name now, but they've got a weekly challenge now for the NEP
Oh, really? I didn't
as
see
well
that.
now.
Actually, I
Um,
forgot there's a comment, Bob. Daniel said also there's a course by AU Visualization Research Repository. That's a mouthful. That just came out. Oh, no, sorry. And he did post a link, obviously.
yeah,
Cool.
he posted the link
He posted a
afterwards.
link.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Daniel, I'll send you that Power BI file. The script is going to be too long, and you need the data as well. But yeah, that one was the most challenging I had yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you ever? The next thing I want to do isn't, I think, particularly challenging, but it was again something from Chris Wagner said that I never really thought of before. I want to create like just a standard config for
mm.
me.
A company template you talked about, yeah.
A company template,
Mm.
exactly. You paid attention. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Um, because, and this is also one of the things, because I think sometimes if you go to the
Thanks, Robin.
the Deneb workout, thanks,
Yeah.
Robin, appreciate it. If you go to the config, I think that can be quite overwhelming sometimes. It's just so full of information,
Mm.
and I think you don't people certainly when it gets dull, you don't understand how much is control there. I remember I encountered situations like, why can't I make this work? Why can't it? And I was like, oh, because that value is kind of
Mm.
there in the config and whatever. Um, so to create within the template that you produce with Denim to have a conflict conflict? No,
A config.
thank you very much. So much
The
better.
other one.
Yeah, close enough, right? That setup would also be quite a nice thing as well to make it keep it in line with it, especially because you
Mm.
can use the colors that you have within inside your your JSON file for the Power BI
Yeah.
report itself. So it's a good
Um,
combination.
I started working with. I saw that in one of Daniel's configs,
Mm.
the style encoding.
The what,
So
sorry?
style. So you put
Ah,
a
yeah,
style. You put a color against the style, and then you can reference that style
yeah.
in your visual. You don't have to point the color every time.
Ah, right. That's quite cool, actually. That's quite nice. Just
It's like
like,
a parameter. I think
yeah,
it's similar to a parameter, creating a parameter.
like a style
Uh,
parameter essentially. So you
yeah,
not saves you all the type and just go to the.
yeah.
That's quite nice.
And the thing is, you can do that with the whole. Let's say you've got a line chart. You can do that with the whole line, and then you just reference in the line chart the style that it needs to pick up for the line.
Okay, okay.
So you can set the stroke width and everything like that.
You can use multiple styles per Mark II. All right,
Yeah.
this is my next little bit of reading I'm going to be doing. See, having this conversation, learning stuff. This is going to be my next few days. My wife's going to be like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm learning about style in Deneb." Okay, this is what's
Yeah.
happening.
Robin's question about the field parameters, it's already being supported, I think. It's just a bit of a workaround with the
Mm,
transform. there is some documentation on the Daniel's site, on the Deneb site
On the
about
Deneb
that.
site, yeah. Pretty sure.
Um,
I'll try and link that, but whatever. Maybe Daniel gets me first. That's the general. If this is the general link. If Daniel knows more precisely where it is, you go for it, mate. But that's basically the Deneb documentation rather than the Vega Lite document. But this is also a nice thing as well, that you have certain things that aren't Deneb functional that aren't Vega Lite functionalities, but are Deneb functionalities, like your the what's it called, the kind of light line hatching and stuff.
the patterns, yeah.
Patterns, thank you.
Patterns, yeah.
Yeah, it's a quite cool thing as well. So there's multiple elements that kind of come together that makes it like more than it's like sum of parts. You know, like you say, you have DAX, you got all the little Deneb stuff plus the Vega Lite stuff. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading Daniel's response
Yeah,
now.
it's good. So I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Don't worry, mate. I'll read it. Support is hard due to what Microsoft makes available internally, solving drill down first, then calculation groups, then field parameters. All should be in scope for version 2. You're setting a high bar, Daniel. All right. All I'm saying is, if one or two of these things are there, we'll be happy for sure. Yeah, I can imagine it's a lot. I think for me, drill down would be awesome. By the way, internally supported solving drill down would be quite nice thing to have. I kind of missed that a little bit. Taze disagrees. Tell me why I'm wrong. It's fine. Go for it.
Drill down is just a new report, so. But yeah, I've got a different opinion about everything. So I'm
No, that's fine. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'm talking like drilling down into a hierarchy. I thought that's what we were talking about. Or am I
okay.
wrong?
Yeah, I don't like that on a report.
Oh, okay. So if you start with them, if you start, for example, on like a month level, you want to take it to like a week level. You're not having that.
No.
Okay, I like it.
It's a separate chart for me.
Okay, bit of controversy. Oh, I love this. Now we're getting into it. Fight.
5 minutes left. Yes.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Welcome to
We'll
the
keep
second
this going
hour.
until 12 o'clock.
You opened a whole can of worms, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've got a different way of looking at things. For me, it's if you can't show it in one chart and you have to drill down to a different level, why don't show the different level at the start?
Yeah, I kind of see that. I think I just had it requested so many times now that I feel it's quite a standard thing. But if someone wants to see it on a monthly level aggregation, someone wants to see it on a weekly level aggregation, I think it's just nice to have that functionality just to show both. I mean, you could show it on a separate page as well. No problem.
I normally do it on a separate page.
Yeah, like one page for monthly, one page for weekly. I get it. I'm not.
From a UI perspective, you need to say to every chart where there's drill through that they need to be able to, or drill down, that they need to be able to drill down to a different layer of data.
You mean to actually allow the user to use the functionality? Do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you need to point to somewhere on the chart, and for me that it's extra work.
I don't.
I might be talking me out of a job here. I'm not sure.
No, I'm good. I don't mind the functionality. I'm okay with it. I don't like the interface that you have to use to do it. So what I tend to do is actually bookmark it and put like a big buttons on that the user can just click on to up and down, up and down. And if you combine that with like a field parameters where you can do it into different things, that can also be quite a nice thing, you know. So if you
but that to me is a new chart.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
So
I respect your opinion.
You're actually not using the drill down functionality. You're actually building a new chart.
It's within one same visualization. It's within one same container. You get it? But I totally take your point. You could just basically say this page is for this sort of aggregation. This page is for that aggregation. However, users are users. Okay, yeah. And they'll be like, on this page, I want that. And I'll say, no, let's put it on a different page because it makes more sense to separate. No, because I want to see this in the aggregation, but I want to see that in the aggregation. When I click that, I want to see that to cross-highlight that. I'll be like, you know what? Not even worth my time to have that argument. So there you go. It's there now. But I take your point.
Just give me a table.
Right. This is the thing. Because you'll have that argument and they'll be like, this is fantastic. How do I get an Excel?
And in Excel, you can go to the week level and the day level, and
Oh, love it, love it. I've
Yeah,
actually I've come to terms with the whole Excel thing. By the way, I've got to say, I used to hate it, but I think because you can connect the data sets so nicely, and I don't know. I think I just had to stop caring because it was gonna, like, make me go bald or something. I'm not sure, but I just got to the point where it's like, you know what? Here's the report. If someone asks, here's a pre-prepared Excel file. It's already linked to it. You do what you want with it. Most important thing is that you use it, but you don't tell me what you've done with it. Okay, I don't want to know. That's your world. This is my world. Yeah, exactly, Andy. Excel, please. Love it. It's
um,
always gonna happen. It's always gonna happen. Why
I see.
resist it? You know.
Yeah, no, but if this, when I started working, we were working on Lotus 1 to 3, I think.
Mm,
And if you think how long Excel is
yeah.
embedded in business now, you're not
Mm.
going to fight that. It's pick your battles, I think. And Excel is not a battle I want to fight.
I
So
say that with many things, mostly with my children. To be honest, when I'm going to have an argument with my kids, I'm like, you know what? Yes, you can do that one thing. I'm going to pick my battles. It's not worth an argument with my kids, and it's the
mm.
same thing exactly.
No,
Pick your
my
battles.
wife's also got that saying.
Yeah,
Pick your battles.
yeah. It's like,
So,
if they can't. Sorry, please.
so I'm not fighting shadows. I'm not fighting maps. I'm picking up. I'm picking up battles.
But I didn't actually realize that there are some there's this, I'm not sure precisely what it is, I forget, and that drop shadows can really affect people's perception, and actually can also really, like, from a visual, like, make people feel like dizzy, and I didn't actually realize that it can cause actual, like, really, if people have a certain thing with the vision or whatever, drop shadows can just be very, very difficult to look at, which I wasn't aware of. So I think it's also an accessibility thing with drop shadows, that if you use them too much, for some people, it just makes the report very hard to look at. Didn't
So
know that.
when we started, or when I started in the visualizations, it was somebody introduced me to the squint test.
Okay.
Where you squint through your eyes and you check and see what do you see first.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Interesting.
if you put shadows on, that's the thing you see first on a visualization. You don't see the data or you don't see the chart. You see the shadows.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And for me, that takes away the message of the visualization.
Yeah. That's fair. It's a good point. Simply put, but accurate. Yeah. There are
So, so maybe try that the next time you put a shadow in and say, okay,
never going to happen again. I mean, unless I enter my new phase of data
unless it's in the
visualization.
nip.
Of course, unless it's there. All right. It's strange. There are some visual choices that I find really strange. Not, I'm talking about like a completely different thing visually now. Netflix a few months ago started to have games in Netflix. You could play like games and stuff. And there was one that was just like a quiz. You would answer questions. It was like, but in the background, it was like the quiz was like here on the screen. The entire screen's this size, but in the background, it's kind of, you're like flying through this thing, and it made me really, really sick. Like, I do get travel sick fairly easily, like on boats and stuff. A little bit on airplanes, but anyway,
On an
it
airplane, weren't you a steward?
yeah, yeah. Not so much anymore. I tell you, actually, there's a funny story about that. So when I was first a flight attendant, the first flights I was on, I was really badly travel sick. So for the first 6 months of doing that job, I took travel sickness tablets. And then someone said to me, maybe you want to stop doing that because I'm not sure how healthy it is. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I stopped. But at that point, my body just completely used to it, so it's fine. So I was like, great. I no longer get airsick. So for my dad's birthday, maybe I forget which one, maybe his 60th or whatever, some birthday, I bought him like a flight tour of Berlin on a little Cessna, you know? And I was like, I no longer get travel sick. I will come with you. I ruined that present for my dad. It consisted of us taking off from the airport outside Berlin, traveling to just outside Berlin, and me basically vomiting for 45 minutes solid. My dad has a video of us landing back at the airfield, and all you can hear in the background is me violently vomiting as we land. It was ridiculous. And I was like, you know what? I think I do still get travel sick. It was just It was disgusting. It was so I felt terrible. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So
Steve
yes,
has got quite a few questions.
yeah, we're gonna bring it back. Enough of me vomiting. Gets back to Steve's questions. What are Tay's
Um,
views on Vega Lite versus Vega, and will he be switching at some point? There you go. Nice. Will you?
no, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, it's I started looking at Vega. There's a few of the, I think it's the Arc that's easier to do in Vega than in Vega Lite. But I think I'm just getting used to the Vega Lite language now.
Hmm.
Um, so opinion might change next year.
It
Um,
happens.
yeah, but Andrea is doing quite some nice stuff in Vega.
He does. I mean, some very
He's busy
impressive
with the
stuff.
visual vocabulary.
Yeah, saw that.
So he actually inspired me to start with that as well now.
Okay, nice.
I wanted to do that with Shard before I started with the Big Book of Dashboards.
Okay,
Um, so that might be my challenge this year to finish off that.
nice. It's a good idea.
Send it through to Daniel for version 2.
When it comes to Vega Lite versus Vega, I don't know. I will stick by what I said a few times, in which I really think Vega Lite has 99% of what you'll need if
Mm,
you're sticking with standard business reporting, is what I'd say, like reports, whatever. If you want to venture into infographics, you probably want to use Vega, I think. But Vega Lite, for me, is generally very good for data visualization from a very broad perspective. If you want to create something that's visually spectacular and you can have a like I don't know text jittering or whatever, I'm not sure, then Vega. But I really think I won't go to Vega. I keep saying that I'll give it a try, but I start to have a look and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can't be bothered, whatever, bit lazy. Yeah, I just think that for me that's the key difference. I think things can look a bit more visually spectacular with Vega,
mm.
which is why I say it's more for infographics. Um, yeah.
Yeah, what's nice about Vega is you can use multiple data sets. Um, so
Yeah.
it allows you to do different data sets across different
Mm,
spaces. But you can do that actually in Vega Lite as well.
mm,
So I combine it with in a DAX calculator table and then just add a filter column.
yeah.
And then I just filter out section 1 and section 2
Yeah.
for my layer chart. That also works fine. So I think if I reach a limitation on Vega Lite, I might go to Vega. But then the question is, why not D3? Why not?
I would much rather learn D3 than Vega, I gotta say. Because it looks very complex and
It's very,
it's a big step up. But if I was gonna spend time on learning something which is is a change from Vega Lite or is more complex. I mean, Vega is more complex for me anyway. I'd rather just take it further and do D3 because I think it's more usable across a broader range of products, if you will.
yeah. There's one Vega diagram that I did. We did a. It's not a network diagram, but it's I think it's a chord, CHORD.
Okay, chord, yeah.
Yeah, the chord where you've got a source which is going to a target, and that target is going to another
Okay,
target.
yeah.
So I did that for almost like a data flow to try and get from the source data a data lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there, the Power BI chart is better for that again. Um,
Interesting.
see, I'm not gonna. I'm
No,
getting
okay.
old. I forget the words.
You're in good company there, mate.
It's one of the AI diagrams in Power BI. It's not
The
the
decomposition tree, maybe?
decomposition tree. Yeah, that one
Yeah.
works better for that because
It's
you can
very good
actually
visual.
get the flow of the data through that than
Yeah.
the core
Yeah.
diagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I did the core diagram, it was just a copy and paste of the example page
Yeah.
of Vega, and
Yeah.
and you said that with the Chris section as well, or the talk you had with him is copy and paste is our friend.
Yeah.
copy and paste, and you change a few variables. So
Yeah. And this is maybe one of the reasons I like it so much, because I found it ironic at one point that I started enjoying something so much that involved me typing quite a lot, which I'm so bad at. So the fact that I could reduce typing with copying and pasting, I was like, okay, this is more manageable for me now. But yeah, copy and paste. And this thing you can create it if it's like, and actually, I was, everyone's testing Chat GP, whatever it's called, GPT, whatever, Anna.
mm,
And I was feeling really good about myself because I was like, here, random Chat GPT thing, create some visualization in Vega Lite. Did it, looked at it, and it was wrong. So I corrected it. I was like, ha, you lose. But even as it improves and gets better and you can do these things, if you do that and if you don't, but you don't understand the elements that you've literally just pasted into
mm.
a visualize, you can't do anything. You then have to learn what each of those things actually mean. And if you want to change it, what elements are important and stuff. So
Mm.
this is also
So I actually use ChatGPT, but I use it more for a soundboard to check and see if it's possible to do in Vega Lite. So I
okay.
ask it if it's possible to do a facet within a layer within a HConcat, for instance.
Okay.
Um, and then he comes back with old code, which also doesn't work, but
Mm.
it gives you an idea of what to do. So
Yeah, exactly. It's a springboard of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So I use it for soundboard, but yeah, it's
Mm.
quite
Mm.
interesting and
It is. It is.
scary.
Actually, the one thing that I would like to do that I think you can't do, if I am wrong, you can correct me for sure, is the if you like a scatter plot.
Mhm.
If I want to do text jittering to ensure that the labels don't overlap one another, I haven't worked out how to do that yet.
Yeah, you can do that in Vega, but not Vega Lite.
I thought so. That's the one thing that I've hit that I couldn't actually do in Vega, and I saw that it was possible in Vega, and I was like, maybe it's, but I tried it in many different ways, and it's not happening.
Yeah, I think it's an add-in in Vega
Mm,
about text layering or something like that, or
mm.
text labeling.
Yeah,
But yeah, I also tried to look at it, but no, it's easier for me to put the x and y coordinates in a DAX expression to say that it should be
yeah, just the offset. Yeah, put the offset there.
just a bit of an offset, and then
Yeah,
try and or not do the labels at all.
that also, or the classic, the top N labels. So don't show them all, just like the relevant ones, right? Ah,
Yeah,
love it, love it. Cool. Mate, I'm gonna let you go now because I know it's been well over
I was
the.
just starting to chat.
Hey, mate, that's fine. I don't say. As soon as you started mentioning disagreeing with the whole thing about the hierarchies or whatever, I was like, this could go on for a much longer time. If you want to keep talking, that's fine by me. And look, also Robin is saying you're answering questions that he didn't know he had now. So we're also preempting questions at this point. That's how good we're getting right now.
No, that I think that was the one about the layering of the labels.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
The top end thing is something that I do enjoy doing the with Vega Lite. I like if
Mm.
you like if something
Yeah,
is the top.
that's the ranking for me. Yeah, the
Yeah,
top end.
exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Also confused because I was like I googled top N in Vega Lite at one point and it was like it's a top K. I'm like top K. What's the difference between top K and top N? I was like, oh, there is no difference. It's just like different letter for some reason.
Yeah,
Why?
uh, the top K items. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the window functions, which are
Yeah.
it's also doing. You can utilize that for your cumulative chart as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice. Have I actually done anything cumulative in Vega? I have not actually. I love all these things I realize that I've never done before. Never done this as we talk.
yeah. What's
Um,
interesting, the cumulative one is there's a frame aspect that you need to add to it as well. So you can set the frame to either be where you set the say for instance you set null to 0, which will
mhm.
tally up everything before, and you can change that to have a like a 3 month or 12 week or 12-month delay to do
That's
your
quite cool.
cumulative.
That's quite
So
cool.
the average over a certain number of months. But I haven't used that yet. But I normally do that in DAX. But you can do that with the window function as well.
Okay. Interesting. Good to know. There's
Mm,
so much. This is what I love about it. There's so much, right? It's like
yeah.
you try these bits and pieces, and then you get the basics down. Once you get the basics down, you can make some fun stuff. But there's just this building on that and trying new ideas, and just I wonder if I can do this, and then you realize that you can, and it's a lot of good fun. It really is a lot of good fun. Um, See, when I bring it, every time Daniel comments, I'm just going to bring it up because you know it's going to be
Yeah.
relevant,
Yeah.
right? I think it's a fair rule, right? They conceptually
Conception.
work just like window functions in SQL or
Yeah.
DAX now, and they're very powerful. Yeah, they are
Yeah. The window functions in SQL is very powerful.
very cool.
I haven't used the window function in DAX yet.
I haven't actually
I'm
either.
still struggling with the min and max.
I love that. I love when you run into these things where you think I should know this, but somehow I don't. I always find interesting in DAX. Like quite often, people say that they really struggle with rank X, and I'm not good at DAX. I'm not. I think my knowledge is pretty basic. I do what I need to do, and I improve as I need to, basically. But RankX was one of the first things I used in DAX because I was creating this football report.
Yeah.
That's what the data I've used since for so many years now, and I just had this need to have a ranking. So I used RankX really early on, and I used it, and I got there was a my favorite Formu, this Power BI blog Formu
Mm.
by the I forgot the
Gilbert.
Thank you, Gilbert. See, I'm so bad with names. Sorry, Gilbert. Um, and he has a great blog post about rank X and dynamic top N and stuff. And because of that, what I really enjoyed when I started denebbing was the ability to kind of combine that with also, changing the if something is in the top N, for example, if it's in the
Mm.
top three, then show a specific, show the number, or show a
Yeah.
different color, or show whatever. And also the user can change that to say top three, top five. So as you change that top whatever, then you can highlight, you can choose which elements to highlight in a very unique way, which I think is a really cool combination of functionality using the rank. And I know, of course, you can use the rank K in
Mm.
within Dynamo, but
I came across a observable page where they
mm,
did a table
mm-hmm,
where you set the number of rows that needs to be shown as a
okay.
parameter. So it's
Okay,
similar to
cool.
the top 5 rows, and
Mm.
then so if you say top 20 rows, the table just get longer and longer and
Yeah,
longer. So
that's cool.
that's quite nice, especially if you've got a lot of data that you need to show.
It's very cool.
Uh,
It's a nice idea, actually. I'm looking forward to that functionality working, by the way, in Deneb. The fact that if you set your parameters, if you kind of change the number when you have cross filter, it kind of deletes, it gets rid of that the functionality. That's quite frustrating, but I think at some point that will work. If I'm wrong, I apologize, Daniel. Do you know what I mean, though, right?
which one is that?
Oh, I'm going to describe it in a really bad way. When you have the ability, I'm going to use like the zero technical words here
Mm.
because I forget what it's called. When you have the ability to basically, as you say, like set the number, like show 10, and you're actually within the Dena visualization, you can type or the number itself. You basically have a slicer within the Dena visualization, the code that you've written. You can
Yeah.
do that, but if you then use cross filtering with that, it will reset the value, so it makes it very difficult to use that in an actual usable report. So if that would work how I
But
perceive it should work, I think would be very helpful.
yeah, so the way for me around that is to use a DAX parameter.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. With the
Yeah,
DAX
and
parameters,
then
it works, but not with the ones that you'd write with inside Vega Lite, I believe.
yeah, not the parameters in
Exactly.
Megalight.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
If they were to work, it would be because it's nice to have a read it to control it within the container
yeah,
itself, like
yeah,
the on element. I know you can set your filter here and you group them or whatever. I think it just looks really smart to have it within the actual container itself, that parameter thing.
yeah. I haven't played around with that yet. So
Okay.
when I started off, yeah, it's part of the examples that you do. Where you
Mm.
slide parameter, um, see what
Yeah.
it does. Oh,
Yeah.
the text can actually move around labels.
Exactly. That's one of the most ridiculous things I've created on the link that I sent before. I've got a page where the rotation of the text is controlled by the value. It's so pointless. It's so ridiculous.
But you can
But
do it.
exactly that. Because you can. Therefore I did. Why? It's like, oh, the value of this is 45, and for that reason, the text is at a 45-degree angle. This text is at a 270-degree angle. Why? But why would you need that? But you can, so you do, right? Look at this. There you go. Daniel just coming in with Daniel, I'm so sorry that we have you involved in the chat, and we're sitting here talking, and you're like following it up. Like, I need to explain. I really do apologize for that. I really appreciate you putting these comments down. Power BI triggers a refresh of the visual on any canvas update, and it's very hard to persist bigger params this way. Okay, I'm thinking about it, but I haven't really got to a point where I'm going to look at it. That's very reasonable, because also you don't need it in Power BI, because as we've also said,
No.
you can set your parameters using DAX. Daniel, you're an absolute legend for taking part in this chat from a. I should have just brought you in, to be honest. Put you on the screen. This is terrible, man. I owe Daniel so many whatever beers or whatever he drinks, Coca-Cola. I'm not sure, whatever.
No, me too. And I think it might be worthwhile starting to sponsor him.
That's actually a really good point. I feel terrible for saying something stupid like a beer when I can actually just. I also link that on the. There you go. I want to link this. This is
there is a sponsor site. I think maybe Daniel can drop the sponsor site in there.
Yeah, I'm going to link that. Yeah. Sorry, Daniel. I hope I didn't insult you by saying that rather than actually dropping your sponsor link. Thank you for Taze for reminding me. Taze is clearly a much nicer person than I am. He was like, this is how you can actually support him, by giving him money. There you go.
I'm might be too opinionated on a few things, but I'm old. I can be.
This is what we're here for, man. We're here for your opinions. This is express them. It's all good. Oh man, yeah. Good stuff.
It's for me. It's for me the NEP was a life changer. The things that you can do with that in Power BI now is. So this year I'm not doing the Workout Wednesday for Power BI. I'm doing the Workout Wednesday for Tableau.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
To try and see if I can remake everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the guys from Tableau picked that up, so they're making the challenges a bit more difficult every week.
Class. I like it.
So we're in week 11 now, so there wasn't one that we couldn't tackle with the NEP yet. So
very cool.
And I think if we go to your question that you ask everybody about what's this one thing that I would change in Power BI is to make it more accessible and putting it on a Mac as well.
Yeah.
Because then I think you will get a bigger crowd starting to use it that is now more geared towards the Tableau and Mac.
And it's interesting because my perception, this is a really good point. My perception of people who use Mac, I could be wrong, is that they're more focused towards like style, graphic design, that sort of thing, which is what Power BI kind of isn't. If you look at it from a visual perspective, I always get the impression, and obviously this is me completely guessing with no inside information whatsoever, that the reason that they're not doing that is because everything will move towards a more online experience. And once it's there, it doesn't matter. It's not Mac or PC. It's just Power BI. So you got Power Query, you'll have online. Of course, building a report now within the Power BI the workspace is horrific. But if they work on changing that, which I kind of assume that they were, there wouldn't be a desktop anymore. It would be all online experience.
That makes sense. Question is, have you built a report on the service yet?
Oh God, yeah, it's horrible.
No, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, no. No.
Yeah, it's almost like I'd rather go back to Report Builder.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm saying not now. I mean, I'm talking about years off. But yes, in the meantime, short term, it would be good, I suppose. But from a program, I've got no idea what that entails to kind of make that doable.
But maybe if I ask you a question, you're part of the Microsoft team now that's looking at the visualization. How's that going?
It's going well. I mean, it's really interesting to see. I'm really scared at this point because I'm not an MVP, so I've never been in had an NDA
not
before.
Not yet an MVP.
We'll see. But so I'm like, every time I was like, I don't know what I can say, but it's really, I'll say this, it's really cool to see the vision is very interesting, and I really enjoy it. I think it's gonna everything looks cleaner, and I think it's a nice thing to a goal to have that the out of the box experience is just tidy and clean and not busy. I I seem to be one of the few people who really enjoy the new on object formatting. I think that's a nice step. I know it's preview, so it's not finished by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it works well. I like it.
I looked at it this weekend, and the thing that I picked up is that you can't. Is it an implicit measure when you just drag the cells
Yeah.
in without creating the measure?
Yeah.
But you can't change it again. You can't change it to average and
Ah, really, that's
min or
interesting.
max. It's once it's in there, it's stuck.
I wonder if that's by design. Yeah.
I
Uh,
think it could be, eh? They're forcing you to create a measure.
yeah. I know. I think you can't do drill throughs either. I think I saw someone say that. I think Greg Deckler made a video and said you couldn't do drill throughs. I had a look myself, and it seemed to be harder. Everything, but I will say, I see when Power BI do change elements, updates to things, they seem to always forget about drill throughs. I got to say. Um, yeah, Anthony.
Anthony.
Yeah, people keep coming at me with their terrible opinions, right?
Um,
Oh, you can
one
do
thing
drill
that
through. Okay, sorry. I thought Greg Deckler said you couldn't, so I apologize. But I still maintain that you tend to forget about drill through. But thank you, Anthony, for correcting
the
me.
thing that they caught me with in the changes was the slices. Um, so when you normally drag the slicer on the uh, canvas,
Mm.
you could actually change the drop down to a list on the slicer itself.
Yeah.
And now you have to slide
Mm.
and change it on that side,
Okay.
um, on
Yeah,
the
but
formatting pane. Yeah,
that's been changed for a while though. That changed a
yeah,
couple
but
of months ago.
it's still annoying for me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those
I
things
think
that
it's the memory. The yeah, you talked about it with
muscle memory. Yeah.
yeah, it's the muscle memory that still gets me.
It's like they were trying to bring everything in line, so they put it there. But what they were bringing it in line with was a bad experience anyway, so it didn't help. Look, I think for me, what I like about the on-object formatting is that if you click on something, for example, if I'm going to edit, if I'm going to change the color, if I want to change the title, if I want to change the data labels, I click on it and it goes immediately where I want it to be in the format pane itself. So you don't. I hate the format pane. It's a horrible interface. You have to search for stuff. It's drop down, drop down, drop down, drop down. But with now on object, if you click on the color, it'll go to exactly where you need to be. And I think
On the format pane. Yeah.
that saves a lot of clicks. I enjoy that a lot. Robert had more opinions here. Turned it on for about an hour, ended up turning it back off because there's too much mental muscle memory
Mm.
involved in how it's being all these. I agree. I totally see your point. However, for me, I switch it on and I leave it on because I know it's going to change at some point and I want to get myself used to it as soon as possible. Another good point from
Yeah.
Anthony. I just got used to the new format pane. I see that as well. I think I had the advantage is because I hated the new format pane so much
Yeah.
that I never got used to it. I
Yeah.
really, I really couldn't get on board with it at all.
I'm actually with Mike on this one. Is just give me the properties. Um,
Yeah.
he mentioned that last week. Is give me the properties, but that's the old reporting services.
Mm.
So in reporting services, you could have all the properties, and you put it alphabetically, and you know where the format is, and you know where the background is.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it
Mm.
might be that we're old school. But do you think they're moving it towards a more Excel look and feel?
They bring it towards a more Microsoft look and feel. So
Okay.
Excel, PowerPoint, they want to basically make all the experiences the same, So basically with Excel or with PowerPoint, a lot of what you can do is right there. You click on it and you can do that right there, wait what you've clicked on. Which I think is a positive thing. I don't From a work perspective, working on something here and all the stuff's over here, and it's difficult to combine those things sometimes. So I think that they're basically trying to make it a unified experience, so that the learning curve between Excel and Power BI,
Mm.
from a formatting point of view, is a lot easier to handle, which it does make sense. And it might take a while to get there because you always have to go through some iterations of the design and work out what makes sense to one person, or what makes sense to 12 people who are giving feedback on these things might not make sense to the hundreds of thousands of people who use it across the entire Power BI world, universe, whatever you want to call it. So I think at the bare minimum, the very, very least, for years, yeah, years actually, people have said this, what we currently have is really could be so much better, and you need to do something. You need to, and they're addressing a lot of those issues, and
Mm.
they're putting in the effort that people said, please put in this effort. That's actually, they're putting time and money and resources towards it. So, and I think that they have people within the community providing feedback. It's a small group, but also the wider group are getting more information now because Miguel's going out and he's talking to user groups. He's
Mm.
sharing whatever he wants. I mean, when Miguel shares it, he can share what he wants. He's not going to get sued by Microsoft. He works with them. So I think that's a really positive step. And I think
Mm.
just by being transparent with the projects is, to me, is a big step forward.
Yeah.
I do. If I'd never worked with Deneb, if I'd never seen it, I would be like, "This is awesome. This is fantastic. It's gonna change." But because I have that, going back to one of the first points we made, that complete control of everything now, and I'm not saying it's because I'm old school, because I'm not saying I'm not old. I am. I'm getting there. It's just I haven't used it for that long. It's just once you've had complete control, anything other than complete control is just like, but I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. You know what I mean? And you can't satisfy those needs. So people also are like, is Deneb gonna, is it gonna become redundant because of these changes? No, because they're never gonna give you that control. I don't think. Um,
Yeah, for me, I'm not using any of the other visuals in Power BI currently.
yeah,
I'm only using the nib,
yeah.
and that for me is it's it's easier for me now to do in the nib than it is to do it in the normal bar chart, for instance. Um,
If I agree, in my when I create visuals for myself, I
but
completely
for
do.
company, it's difficult.
I can't for two reasons. I can't justify for a company creating stuff that other someone else maybe can't maintain in the future, and also time wise as well. Like it or not, if you want to create a basic bar chart, it makes more sense for me at a company at least doing that in a Power BI basic visual because it takes like what 35 seconds. If you do something with Deneb, it's going to take you longer, not because it takes so much longer, but you're going to spend some time controlling elements that you
Mm,
can control that you can't with the standard Power BI visual. So again, I would say, generally speaking, because you can Deneb doesn't mean that you should Deneb on certain projects. But I'm completely with you. Don't get me wrong. When it's for me, I'm
yeah,
like, that's Deneb. It's all Deneb, you know. Um, so yeah,
yeah. No, so I think, as you said, the support is the biggest concern for me. So if you do
yeah.
something now, who's going to support it when you leave? Say, for instance, in a month's time or a year's time.
Hmm.
Um, because I'm not sure that everybody's going to pick up on the coding aspect.
No, I mean it's about good documentation. You can create the templates and stuff, but even with all that, someone has to learn.
Mm.
You can't have documentation, and then. But I think it depends on also the company. I mean, or the team. I mean, if you're working in a centralized BI data team, someone who has knowledge of coding, it's not going to take them that long to kind of pick it up. I don't
No,
think, or to understand
yeah.
elements. Someone with zero background, just like that will take a lot longer, of course. So I think if as long as you
Mm.
have a working within that centralized team where there is that knowledge, I think it should be quite manageable
Mm.
for sure.
But but I think Mark mentioned it last week as well, and I think Daniel commented on that. Is the UI functionality for a DNIP where you've got the selection of all the configs and all the. So, for instance, there's a mark. I want to select line, whatever I want to do, and
Mm,
that in essence is what the normal visuals is in Power BI.
yeah,
It's just a UI for coding at the back,
yeah, for sure.
and it would have been nice if that coding was the nib. And that's what, and I think that's what Mark said as well. Is if there was just this one button which
Mm.
said, "Give me access to the code so that I can
Yeah,
change the code."
no, completely. Like it's
Um,
like an advanced mode, an extreme mode, and I think
yeah,
that would be a nice thing to offer.
and it comes back to your point now earlier with just give me the edit button
Hmm.
on a
Yeah,
normal visual. Just give me the edit button
it'd
where
be
I
awesome.
can actually go and change the.
Yeah,
But yeah,
maybe at some point that'll happen. Maybe at some point that'll happen. Um, I was going to bring a couple of comments that were coming before because I think a couple of people made some longer comments about making yeah, they need to make things intuitive for users. Not obvious. This is completely true. It's not obvious you can right click on the new pane functionality to open multiple panes at once. That is true. There are so many things you can do in Power BI by right clicking that are not obvious at all. There's no like when you hover over, there's no like right click for more options. So for the
I
new
I I didn't know that.
yes, on the new format, on the new panes, on the new experience, if you right click, you can pin it, for example, by saying open a new panel. If you don't right click, you don't know. I do maintain if you've used work for Power BI for quite a long time, your standard response should be like right click on stuff anyway, just to see what happens because it's so much is hidden. But Anthony, you're completely correct. Then
Yeah.
sorry, I'm going to bring up a couple here. Business users, self-service will never want the same UI as developers value. Yeah, but you nice to have two modes to choose. Yeah, exactly what we said, right? Two modes: easy mode, hard mode. I don't
Yeah.
think many people are going to disagree with that because you can choose. I use the easy mode. I use the hard mode. I can't imagine that's
Mm.
going to really upset too many people.
You're going to default mostly to the easy mode, but
Of course, yeah.
there's just there's one client that you want to keep happy with changing the label to a specific spot on the chart.
Conversations like this always make me think of my favorite Finnish word. I don't speak Finnish. I only know one word, and I'm going to not I'm not going to tell you what it means, but I'm going to type it in the chat and you can Google it yourself, people, if you want to know what it means. That word is pilkonnusia, pilkonnusia. And that essentially means someone who is very attention detailed, a pilkonnusia. If you choose to Google that word, you'll see it has a slightly different meaning, which is actually quite funny. So basically, someone who's very precise, that's what I've turned into. If you're a really precise person, if you're a bit of a pilkonnusia, you can use hard mode and really
Mm,
control each element yourself. Or if you want to learn, it's about, I mean, Power BI helps you learn so much stuff. It helps you learn DAX, it helps you learn data modeling, it helps you learn
mm,
data cleaning, ATL processes, all this type of stuff. It doesn't help you learn data visualization.
no.
It helps you create data visuals, but it doesn't help you learn data visualization. And if you could have that, it would really, for me, be a more rounded experience regarding what it lets you learn. Because I had to discover Deneb to learn about data visualization.
Or
You know?
what's possible. Yeah.
Yes, exactly what's possible. Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, I would say like creating visualizations in Power BI is if it is of course data visualization, but you're not learning as much as you can because of the restrictions that are in place. If you are given access to do whatever you want with it, that allows you to
mm,
learn more about concepts of data visualization. Um, yeah.
yeah. I think it was Jeff that said in his talk with you, or in his interrupted talk with you,
Yeah.
he held up the storytelling with Databook. And he said a tool that allows you to create everything in that book is a data visualization tool. And Power BI should strive to get to that.
Yeah.
And I think, in a sense, the NIP allows you to do that
And you've
because
proven that.
it allows you to do
Mm.
to put a label at a certain spot where you want it. It allows you to, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as I say, by you going through this book, the big book of dashboard and create that, you kind of proven that's the point. That's what you can do now. That's what's been opened up.
mm.
Sure. Now I do have to call an end to this
No, no,
because
no, no.
my wife's going to be back soon. She's been out socializing. This is my version of socializing, but she socializes with people in like the real world. Craziness. But yeah, mate, it's been I really
Ben, thanks very much.
enjoyed this chat. I have to really thank you because I know I had to convince you. So I'm sorry that I put so much pressure on you, but I'm sure everyone who has joined, definitely the longest one of these we've had so far, by the way. This is like the epic episode, if you will. Everyone has, I really appreciated you joining, so I really appreciate
Oh,
it
thanks,
as well.
man. Thanks
And
for having me.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's an honor to be on the show. Thanks.
Honor's mine. Honor's mine. Everyone in the chat as well. Thank you for your comments and your questions
Oh,
and
thanks.
your opinions. Some of those opinions were occasionally incorrect. I'm sorry about that. But what are you going to do? That's just the nature. And also a special thanks to Daniel for filling in
Thanks,
all the
Daniel.
gaps. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I will be back next Thursday, I believe. Yes, I will be. Can't remember who, as ever. I can never remember that. But I shall see everyone next Thursday. And Taze, one more time, thank you very much and goodbye.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Don't you wanna